In the world of Hollywood, movies get greenlit and redlit. They get remade and rebooted. But we are the Ideal. I'm Sam Gasch, and you are listening to Ideal Remake. Thank you for listening to Ideal Remake. We take movies that either have been, will be, or should be remade and talk about what the ideal version of that remake would be. Today we're going to turn down all offers of help and make it on our own. So here today to offer double the help are Tom Loveman and Rachanee, how do I pronounce your last name? Lumayno. I was meant to ask before we started, but then I didn't. So, Rachanee, Tom, is The Secret of My Success a movie that has been, will be, or should be remade?
Ooh, how much time do we have?
And this is really just pick one of the three.
I feel like it would need to be so updated if it was done today.
The question I had was, could it be remade? Because
not as is.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you never want to do something as is, because where's the fun in that? Yeah. But really, has it been remade?
No.
Mm-mm.
Are there any plans for it to be remade?
Not that I've heard, no.
But we're talking about it today because you think that
it could be remade, yeah.
Should be remade.
I guess that is the answer then.
Those are the three options.
Should be remade.
All right, so before we get too far into the minutia here, why don't you both tell me a little bit about yourselves so the people know who they're listening to?
I'm Tom Loveman. I'm a writer and producer here in Hollywood. I've been working with Rachanee for years as a co-host on the Writers Group Therapy podcast, and we also co-lead a writers group here in North Hollywood. And I'm originally from Cleveland, and 7 years ago I decided to become a screenwriter. It's kind of my midlife crisis, was to move to LA and become a writer.
And I'm Rachanee Lumayno. I think Tom basically said it all. We co-lead a writers group, we co-host a podcast, Writers Group Therapy. I'm an actor, writer, and producer. I specialize in comedy and romantic comedy, so this one, I'm the one that actually suggested it. I think you were like, really, this one?
Yeah, I grew up in the 80s, so this is kind of one of my coming-of-age movies.
And I'd never heard of it. I'm sure it was fine. So, Tom, I met you first. Do you remember how I met you?
We were just discussing this on the way here. We couldn't remember. I'm 50 years old. I cannot remember what I had for breakfast. So
I met you and got your business card at a Stage 32 writers networking meetup.
Oh, I never go to those too. That's probably like the only one I've been to.
Quite possibly. Yeah. It was at that bar restaurant.
Busby's?
I don't know, whatever it's called in Hollywood.
Oh.
Like right near the IHOP.
Near the IHOP. Oh, that was the one that was
it's
at
like Sunset in La Brea.
It's on. I know what it is. I can't remember the name of it. Yeah, a little sports bar.
Right.
Yeah.
But that whole thing was organized by former two-time guest of the show, Nick Asunto.
Ah.
Who, I don't know if you know or not, or you're just on Stage 32. Don't worry about it. But yeah.
That's where we met.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So there you go.
Cool.
Yeah. So then talk to me about how you both first saw The Secret of My Success for the first time.
I saw it in the movie theaters and back in the 80s when I was a huge Michael J. Fox fan. And this was post Back to the Future, or was this pre Back to the Future?
85, I think he had done Back to the Future.
Yeah, 85 was the first one. I should know that.
I feel like this was 87, I'm sorry.
I should know that because that's the year he goes from the future to the past and back. Yeah,
and that's your favorite movie, Tom.
Yeah, it is.
Number 2.
It is. I also watched Michael J. Fox on his first thing was the TV sitcom Family Ties.
Oh, yeah?
Where he played Michael P. Keaton, the conservative teenage son of liberal parents.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I don't like that at all.
It was a hit. Ran for a long time.
Yeah, you couldn't... That doesn't work anymore. Because also, that's not how life works.
Yeah.
So many things from the 80s I don't
Although
think
that
would
said,
work anymore.
did you both see Knives Out?
Yes.
I need to. I've heard it's great.
I mean, there's a super conservative kid in that movie too, but also his parents are super conservative, so it doesn't really matter. Rich people gonna be rich.
Yeah.
Is moral of the story for Knives Out. Rachanee, how did you first see Secret of My Success?
Well, we did not have cable, so this was actually on broadcast TV all the time.
Oh.
Along with Star Wars and Sound of Music. So, every year I would see this as a kid growing up.
Those do seem like the big three.
Right? Yeah. In fact, it's funny because when we were rewatching this, I actually remembered exactly where the commercial cuts came.
Oh,
so
really?
there were scenes that I'm like, I don't remember that scene because that was where the commercial cut was.
Wait, so they would take a scene out to put commercials in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Why not just put the commercials between the scenes.
Because it had a run within a certain, 2 hours or something.
Yeah.
Like why Scrubs on Comedy Central was worse than Scrubs on wherever ABC or NBC, whatever network it originally aired on.
Because they can't.
Comedy Central put in more commercials, and so they took out more scenes. Some of which were the scenes with the punchline. It was bad. It was very bad. It was very upsetting.
Yeah, so I remember this as a kid, like, watching it in bits and pieces, and then, I don't know, I feel like I never actually saw it in its entirety until I watched it again for this.
I wonder, did you notice anything that was edited out as far as, like, content-wise, or was it just opportunistic that the commercials were able to hide certain pieces that were maybe offensive for TV?
I'm trying to remember if they censored, I mean, there's really not language that I can remember.
Sexual
Yeah, it's innuendo.
I mean, it's on IMDb as comedy/romance, but it's not a romantic comedy. It's a sex comedy.
Yeah. And the scenes that they edited
different.
out that I remembered, like, being like, oh, I don't remember that, is when the dog goes after him, like when he's at the
when he's being chased by the Doberman.
Yeah, so like it cuts to like him talking about what happened the day before, but like you don't see the dog scene. And then when they
that's fine. I don't miss that scene.
And then the other scene that they cut was the when they finally find out who's sleeping with who, and Christy's crying, and then they just kind of cut there. So it's like you don't really miss much. You just miss her being emotional.
Oh.
So
she earned it.
I know. Well, they had to put those commercials in there somewhere.
I guess. Yeah. Let's cut stuff from Act 3. That's the not important one. Act 1, sure. Act 2, I'll give you. Act 3, why? Tom, you were the one who originally suggested this movie, right? Or Rachanee, did you suggest this movie?
I did.
Oh, you did? Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that.
Oh, it's okay.
Why?
Why? We were trying to think of something that, well, first of all, that you hadn't done yet on your show.
Fair.
And
there have been episodes.
And I think we've dissected Star Wars so much on our podcast.
I would have said no if you'd asked for Star Wars.
But I mean, I just remember really like even though it's a weird movie, I liked it as a kid. And I'm like, watching it again, I'm like, why did I like it?
How old were you?
Well, I mean, like I said, they played it every year growing up, so I remember seeing it from like, 6 or 7 on.
I could definitely see watching this movie at 6 or 7 and liking it because it's goofy, and then watching it again when you're 14 and being like, oh, I'm into this movie for a different reason now.
I mean, like, you understand the nuances just enough, but, like, as a kid, like, obviously everyone's sleeping with each other, it kind of goes over your head.
Right.
But, I don't know.
They had this moment in the movie that I really appreciated where there are a lot of, like, things that you hear about in movies like this where the male actor is short or shorter, and like they'll put him on apple boxes or stilts so it looks like he's taller than whatever female lead he's with. But they didn't do that at all for this movie, to the point where there's a moment in the elevator where he literally goes on tippy toes in order to kiss Christy, and I just thought it was adorable. I'm like, oh yeah, because I hadn't even processed their height difference the entire movie. I'm like, oh yeah, he's a short guy. Who cares?
Yeah, I don't think they ever did that with Michael J. Fox in any of his movies.
Nah,
They played into the fact that he was shorter.
Yeah. I mean, he plays a kid in one of the movies, so that tracks. Mm-hmm. But I mean, good for him.
Yeah.
Let him be self-confident.
Yeah.
Werewolf.
He did a lot of these kind of movies back in the 80s. He did Doc Hollywood. He did For the Love of Money, where he played a concierge at a hotel. He's always kind of the underdog, trying to,
You could have requested any of those movies. I haven't seen any of them.
Oh no?
We'll just do a whole Michael J.
Doc
Fox.
Hollywood was great. He's gonna go be a plastic surgeon in Hollywood, and he drives his little classic sports car across the country, and he almost hits a cow and crashes into the fence at this house. It turns out to be the judge of the little town he's passing through, and they sentence him to community service, where he has to be the town doctor for a couple weeks while they fix his car.
I mean, that's amazing. That's a fun premise.
Yeah, it's a fish out of water kind of story.
I was gonna say, it's Cars.
It's kind of like that.
Oh my gosh.
He is. He's kind of like Lightning McQueen in Radiator Springs, yeah.
A little bit.
Live action.
And, and he comes to learn to enjoy the charm of the town and the people in it.
I mean, Disney, well, no, that's a Pixar movie. But yeah, cool, fun.
Co-starred Woody Harrelson, by the way.
In Doc Holliday?
Doc Hollywood.
Doc Hollywood? Woody Harrelson has been around for a surprisingly long time.
Yes.
And also his dad was a hitman, but whatever. That is a true fact. That is a fun fact that is true.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's a whole separate thing I learned on a different podcast. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Okay, so then let's talk about this movie for a second. So, like, what is the essence of this movie? Like, what is the secret of my success? Like
You
if
mean,
you were
like,
to
plot synopsis, or
we'll boil it down into a log line first.
oh, you're better at log lines than
Small town kid goes to big city to make it in business, and
is willing to do whatever it takes.
well, and he has to fight all kinds of challenges. He shows up in New York, and the company he was going to work for got bought by another company, and he's immediately fired. And he has to suck it up and go see a distant uncle who works at another company, Howard Penrose, and ask for a job, because otherwise he's going to have to go back to Kansas, and he doesn't want to do that.
Howard Prescott.
Oh, sorry.
Did you watch the movie, Tom?
I thought there was a Penrose in there. I think there's also a Penrose in there.
I think
That's
Penrose is
might be
the
other company.
That's the name of the company, I believe. Penrose.
Yeah, because they're definitely the Prescotts.
Ah, yes.
Prescotts. That's a town in Arizona. So then my question is, does that premise work anymore? Because this is pre.com, this is pre-boom, this is like Wall Street is king kind of thing. Is this still true? Because at this point, when I'm watching this movie, I was thinking, a kid who's going to New York to go be on Wall Street either is in it exclusively because he doesn't care about anything in life, he just wants to be rich, or he's a monster. And I don't know how else to take it today. Presuming we're making this today, or we're setting it today.
Yeah.
I think if it was today, he'd be some sort of entrepreneurial genius. Because, like, he comes in, he doesn't even have a college degree.
Right.
And, like, people are like, either you're too qualified.
He does have a college degree.
Oh, you're right, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But, like, it was weird because, let me look at my
He
notes.
was in the interview after he...
college was optional. That was the thing that I thought was weird. That they were like, your college degree is kind of optional for doing this job.
Well, they wanted the college degree, but they also wanted the experience. And they said, well, if you'd instead gone to a college where you could have been getting the internships and the experience. So he went to, like, the wrong sort of school.
Right. If he'd done the training program out of high school,
right? That's
then
what
he'd
it
be
was.
in management.
That's what confused
Yeah.
me, because I was like, that would never happen today. You need the degree.
Yeah. No, that absolutely happens today.
The line that
I know so many people who are applying for jobs that, like, it's their first job in Hollywood and it requires 5 years of desk experience. That happens all the time.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
My friend, I was talking to my friend about it literally last night.
Wow. That's crazy.
It's there's one line, and it's kind of the whole theme of the thing is, how can I get any experience until I get a job that gives me experience?
Right.
And everyone has dealt with that.
Yes.
That first time out, I need this job so I can prove that I can do this job. It's kind of a chicken and the egg kind of thing. And actually the funny thing is, the person he's talking to is Bruce McGill, who played Jack Dalton on MacGyver and about 75 other shows, is the guy he's interviewing with. And
really?
Yeah, and I saw him, I was like, it reminded me, oh my God, Bruce McGill. And he says, and Michael J. Fox asks, so why did I go to college? And he's like, well, you had fun, didn't you?
Yeah, that was, he just loathed that man in that moment.
Yes, he did it very well.
But the reason I brought it up, I was like, does he have to go to New York? Because I would say today, a modern equivalent to this kind of like entrepreneurial, like, let's see what's going on, the rise and fall of certain companies, is he could just as easily go to Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a coast of this country I'm more familiar with.
I think that's definitely a possibility. You could still go to New York though, because Wall Street is a hallowed institution that's been around forever, and there's always been scandals and stuff. And I thought maybe in this instance, maybe the inciting incident or whatever could be something to do with uncovering this insider trading that his boss is doing, and or something to that effect. It kind of almost becomes more of a thriller in that respect instead of a comedy. But kind of Weekend at Bernie's is about the accountants finding the discrepancies in the accounts and the embezzlement.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh.
And then keeping their dead boss looking like he's alive.
Well, yes, there's also that.
That's the funny part. So.
I mean, it could even
that's
work
the B
if
line.
Yeah.
It could even work if you sent him to DC though too,
and have him like coming up, like be a politician,
like trying to make it with a legislator.
I would agree, except that we would have to alter the character a little bit, because right now the character is basically, I want to be successful. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't have any aspirations beyond that. Like, if he was going to Washington, it would be because he wants to accomplish something. He wants to put a small town on the map. He wants to fight for this. He wants to fight for that. If he's going to Silicon Valley, he has an idea that he wants to get made because he really thinks that he can revolutionize the blank industry. Whereas if he goes to New York, it's because he wants to do business. And so, like, I think we have to kind of figure out what aspect of this character do we want. Because in the 80s, it's, hey, we're just having some fun, we're doing some things, but it's not really what we want in our characters right now anymore. Like, we want to know, what does this company do? Like, he works for this company. I still don't know what the company does.
I was thinking about that because in the 80s and 90s, the one thing they always had in a business setting was the hostile takeover.
Right.
And you never know what the company that's getting taken over does or what the company that's going to take them over does either. It's all very vague, but it was like the big looming shadow, like the hostile takeover, oh my gosh.
That was a Pretty Woman.
Pretty Woman, yeah.
Was
About
about
that too. So,
Richard Gere character was
I mean, it's just they always kept it so freaking vague, you know?
And do we want to do the same thing? Because I'm always, you grew up in comedy, you're a big fan of specifics because specifics are funny. So what do we want our specifics to be unless you prefer to keep it vague?
I mean, it's still, just like us moving to LA to do this dream job, you know, that's still got to be the core of it. You know, somebody's got to have a dream and a goal. What industry it's in, you know, is irrelevant. You know, it can be any industry. The skill set, even, you know, he's supposed to be a business whiz and good with numbers and strategy.
It turns out that he's excellent at this.
Yeah, he's really good at it when he analyzes the business. So I feel like that part still needs to be in there. He needs to be able to come to the table and say, look, I know what I'm talking about, and impress, the Yodas that he goes to eventually, support him in his takeover. So that seems to be a key motivation of the character. So we need to keep that. What he actually does, whether it's business or not, is doesn't have to be. I thought, what if it was somebody who was like a whiz at coding or something? It was like building these AI systems or something. It was like kind of a whiz at that.
I mean, in that case, you can send him to Denver. Denver or Texas are kind of the big up and coming places for computer programming.
Yeah.
But,
really?
Yeah.
From Kansas to Texas.
Woohoo!
Yeah, it's not that far.
But it sounds like you're both kind of leaning towards wanting him to be in New York just because that's kind of where the movie lives. Like, it's kind of like, oh, we're in New York doing New Yorker things.
Well, there's also a class thing to it. So you can have that big... It's easy to show that big class, disparity in New York because you've got the penthouses and you've got the, sub-levels, apartments. That,
and New York is the most expensive place to live in the country.
And
so
I think for that argument alone, we should absolutely leave him in New York.
Okay.
If we need to give him a purpose, I would say it's because he was a business student. He went to business school and he likes the numbers and playing with the math and just like it has a certain way. Speaking as a bookkeeper, because I was doing bookkeeping things all day, he literally could go to an office like this and uncover just like all the shady business practices they're doing. And then you have to decide, he has to have this like moment of like, does he want to like give in to all these shady business practices and make all the money that those things do? Or does he want to figure out a way to expose it and kind of save it? Like, does he want to go work for these big Fortune 500 companies and just become a cog in the wheel? Become the sort of people that we hate when we watch The Big Short? What do we want him to be? I think he should be there, like, trying to succeed ethically because I'm a lawful good kind of guy. But...
Well, I mean, the company he could be going to New York to work for could be like this socially responsive, kind of new business with the open work environment and all that stuff.
And then they're immediately shut down.
They're immediately shut down because their biggest benefactor pulls all their funding or something. So they immediately lay off 90% of the people.
I like that. Yeah. I think that's fun.
And they're like, sorry, kid, as soon as we get our funding back, we'll call you, that kind of thing.
That's fair. I like it. Rachanee, different from the first movie, how many roommates should he have?
How many roommates should he have?
Yeah.
He doesn't even have any roommates in this.
I know. Times are changing.
That's true.
Yeah, he could actually afford an apartment by himself, even though it was horrible.
Yeah, I mean,
like you can do that.
No one can do that. That's
in New York.
In one of the two cities. No,
I think it would be very funny if that's how he manages to get his next job, is if one of his roommates works in the mailroom. Not mailroom. We have to come up with a whole new thing for that because mailroom is.
They still have them,
but it's not the same.
Not like that. Not with that many people.
Not with that many people, and
I mean, the way that you would do it is you could have him be just like one of the computer techs. So he's having to walk around like, oh, hey, what can I do for you? No, you don't talk to them. You walk in, you turn the computer off, you turn the computer back on, and then you leave.
That's a great idea. Yeah, make him IT, tech support or something. Yeah.
Because we could establish different ways that he's really smart, and because he's the computer guy in the tech department, that's another way he can see all the data and information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he wouldn't be reading memos or letters.
No.
Because that would never happen. Yeah.
Yeah, after all these email scandals, no.
He could literally be sitting on the computer and doing the same dialogue as Michael J. Fox. Oh, this guy's sending an email to this guy, and there's 3 other people all chiming in, and like he sees the web of intrigue.
He can literally be reading the server.
Yeah, so that makes that's a good.
And that
call.
takes away that like illegal unethicalness of that part.
Yeah,
of
reading other people's
memos.
mail.
Yeah, because reading their emails is way better.
Well, I'm trying to think. That was one thing, too. Like, I watched it with my husband, who'd never seen it before, and he was like, ooh, when he saw that part, the reading the memos part, he's like, how would you work around that? I'm like, I don't know.
I'm going to be honest, it didn't even occur to me that those were private memos.
Oh, okay. You're like, that's fine.
Well, yeah, because I was just thinking they were just just corporate documents. Just, like, I wasn't thinking, like, oh, well, this is eyes only kind of thing. Like, I literally just thought that this was just financial information moving back around. I didn't think it was under lock and key. I just thought it was, here's the data, and no one was reading it except him.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was that moment where he's in the conference room and he's talking and he says, well, this guy wrote it. Did none of you read this thing this guy wrote? Because he wrote it. Mm-hmm. Like, at no point did I ever feel like he was reading things he wasn't, that he was reading things he wasn't supposed to. It was just like, oh, a mailroom kid shouldn't, it's not for a mailroom kid, but everyone else who's up here in a suit, we should be reading all the things, we just don't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I feel like maybe because he was taking documents home.
Okay, that's fair.
Like that's like
that's definitely a no-no.
Yeah.
I mean, they let him take all that research home. I mean, oh, you can have any of this that you want. I thought that was a little odd with the woman in the records room. Like, take whatever you want, corporate reports and stuff, which
even
are all available on.
Room, but,
which most of them, all that information is available on websites and stuff now.
I mean, they did make a point of establishing that like the entire company was being run inefficiently, and then they did nothing to fix it. It was like the entire company is being run inefficiently.
Yeah.
Forget that. We need to make more money because we're going to be bought out. So, like, I think it'd be funny if he kind of took advantage of some of, like, the inefficiencies in the system. Like, literally, the reason the way he's able to read all this stuff at home is because he patches his own laptop into the server and then just connects to and reads everything while he's just sitting at home. And, like, his roommates are, like, partying or whatever, and they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, yeah, I'm finding out what they did wrong in Q3.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, theoretically...
Man, they hid a lot of money.
Theoretically, he could, how he talks about, where there's this memo, you'll get the memo. He could literally create that digitally and create his own persona. He could create his alter ego. It doesn't have to be someone who he sees an office that's empty or whatever. He could create it all, send in the requisitions, send in all the orders, and and everyone believes that this person exists because it's all in the digital record. Here's his employee record, and he basically creates himself so that he works his way into the boardroom.
We wouldn't even need that moment of him like changing back and forth between the different outfits because he could literally be on his phone sending out all these memos and messages and everything while going and doing tech support for other people.
Right. People wouldn't even have seen him.
Yeah.
He'd be this ghost. Mm-hmm. But everyone would be amazed by how all the great ideas he's coming up with.
And I would also love if there's this moment where he's nervous about attending his first meeting and he's like, I fixed the computers of literally everyone in that room. And he was like, they're all going to recognize me. He walks in the room, not a single one.
No one recognizes him because they never
looked at him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they would all get up for, there could be a montage of him fixing computers where everyone gets up and ignores him and talks to somebody else, or they're on their cell phone, or they go to the bathroom, or I'm going to get some more coffee. And so nobody actually interacts with him.
Yeah.
He's helping everyone, but nobody knows him. He's this ghost of a tech support person.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
And except for maybe Christy.
Yeah.
Because theoretically, she's the only one that he then talked to regardless of what they told him.
Well, she could get into a fight with him over, like, this is so important, this information I have, because it's going to, so they get into a dialogue about what she's doing, where they can interact and get that discussion going about, well, no, you should do this, and, create that conflict between them. Mm-hmm. So.
What do you think?
I was actually thinking about just all the relationships.
Well, let's talk about that. Go ahead.
Well, it's so problematic because, like, it is billed as, like, a romantic comedy, but, like, you're right, it is more like a sex farce or something.
Yeah.
And my husband actually brought this up, too. He was like, okay, so now the wife is buying out the company, and she's okay with putting the lady that the husband was having an affair with as the second in command? Isn't that a bit weird? Like, everybody's, like, sleeping with each other, and then in the third act, they're like, but it's cool.
It's a little deus ex machina.
Yeah. A little bit, but, like, I kind of get it because, like, they had actually kind of been building up to that because she knew everybody. She's like, oh, well, Howard wouldn't have had his job if it wasn't for me anyway. It's like, oh, really? Oh, well, interesting. And, like, they've kind of been hinting at that, like, oh, I'm going to introduce you to all these people. Mm-hmm. And it kind of felt like she had fallen into the kind of role as, like, the idle wife, but once she was given an opportunity to be a little bit more involved, I think she really enjoyed it. And then I think it wasn't, she doesn't care who wins just as long as Howard loses.
Even though one of the winners is the lady that her husband was having the affair with.
I think she did say let's cool it with the sexual revolution. I think she was pretty on board.
I mean, she had already, basically written off their marriage and it was just a matter of when she was going to find out who it was. It wasn't that she was upset about it happening. She knew, and obviously she's fooling around on her husband too, so that bridge is burned already, so.
That said, that also makes something, like, I'm just now realizing it in this moment of, like, Howard's the CEO of this company. Why does he care if he doesn't divorce his wife? But he's like, I can never divorce my wife. Now, of course, in retrospect, that's really obvious because it's her company.
Yeah,
he's running her company.
She's the daughter of the original founder.
Yeah, so that's why he can't divorce her. Mm-hmm. They never say that, so I feel like that's one of those things that a week later I'm able to figure out.
I think that was the confusion between Prescott and Penrose. The company was Penrose, but Prescott is the CEO.
They're very coy in how they introduce it. Because I was paying attention to that because obviously I already knew that since I had grown up watching the movie. But yeah, it's not until the very end where she's like, you've run Daddy's company in the ground. Like, but she's very coy about who she is in relation to the company up until that moment where they probably need to be more obvious. Yeah.
If we're talking about relationships, I would make him be worse. In the sense that, like, he comes home and goes, hey, how are you? So, like, he puts on a good face whenever he's talking with his wife, but he won't sleep with her. Mm-hmm. And she just doesn't understand why, and she's really, really frustrated. But as soon as he's away from his wife, he just badmouths the shit out of her. But then, like, when he's with her, he's like, hey, how are you? Because he wants to stay on her good side because he can't let her divorce him.
Yeah, they literally have, like, 2 scenes together in the movie. They have the scene at
they have 3.
They have the bathhouse scene, the pool house scene.
Pool house.
And then the end boardroom scene. And then there's the scene, the sexual revolution scene. The farcical
and the scene scene. Yeah, the scene where he's sleeping out of bed, but that's all a piece with the sexual revolution scene. The Scooby-Doo scene was fun. I like the Scooby-Doo scene.
I like calling it the Scooby-Doo scene.
That's an excellent description for it.
Yeah.
That's the full farce.
Everybody gets that immediately when you say the Scooby-Doo scene.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, Scooby-Doo was out prior to this movie. Yeah. It very well may have explicitly been a Scooby-Doo scene.
Yeah.
That's fun.
I think the issue is the characters aren't necessarily likable the way they are. So I might change it so Howard is a total jerk, but maybe instead of him and Christy actually sleeping together, he's pressuring her for it. She hasn't given in, but he's maybe holding her job over her head. Mm-hmm. Because otherwise it is I mean, I'm the only woman at the table. It is a little weird to be like, but we're cool now, Like,
yeah, you're not wrong.
I don't know. There's just got to be a way to make it more likable.
They don't necessarily need to be likable. I mean, Howard is pretty much irredeemable the entire movie.
Oh, I don't mean him. I mean,
you
Christy and Vera.
And
Brantley.
Yes. Mm-hmm. What a name. I'm sorry. I think that's hilarious that he's named Brantley.
Yeah, it's not a good name, but that's why we gotta keep it.
Carlton Whitfield?
Yeah, it's, I'm just such a big fan of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Hadn't even come out yet.
Then I got nothing. But you're right. I think that in that context, you're absolutely right. It is, that is weird. I don't know. What can we do about it? What should the kind of, like, jumping to the end resolution be if Vera would probably be uncomfortable handing the company over to the other woman.
That's the weird part about it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, like I said, I think if maybe he's pressuring Christy and holding something about her job over her head, that makes it a little bit nicer. And I wouldn't even let Vera and Brantley. Wait, what's his name again? I wouldn't even have them sleep together, maybe.
So in this sex comedy, you want to cut out all the sex.
I'm trying to think of, okay, I mean, like, if you had it now in 2020 with the whole Me Too and how much has exploded as far as, I mean, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of a way to make everybody a little less gross. Tom's raising his hand.
What is it, Tom?
You're not supposed to tell them I'm raising my hand.
Oh,
It's
sorry.
It's too late. I think
polite.
the audience
You.
deserves to know.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so I have to throw out the gender swap option here. Okay? What if Brantley is female? Okay.
Brendley?
Huh?
Brenda Lee.
Brantley, I think that could go in either way, actually. And then you have the Christie character is a guy who she's attracted to. And then you have a powerful CEO who this could be either male or female. That you could either go the evil F. Murray Abramson, Ralph Fiennes. I can never say his name right. Ralph Fiennes. Filen. I was thinking of.
We're not doing casting
Oh,
yet.
sorry. Okay. Anyway, so you would have and then you'd have a female kind of antagonist who would be the one bucking for the promotion, who would kind of be the foil, who would be, kind of come between the Brantley character and...
So you want to introduce a new character?
Yeah, instead of the wife, actually. So
I like the wife. I like that... Because here's the thing that I actually found interesting, aside from the fact that there's 4 women in this movie. One of them's the secretary, one of them's the mother, one of them's the wife, and the other one's the girlfriend. Like, that aside, one of the things I really liked, it was like, Christie got to be an executive at this company. And I really like the idea of she got to be an executive at this company. So I want her to have earned that herself. And she's so like, oh my gosh, now these people will finally look at her as an equal. And it still doesn't happen. He still sees her as just like the new hot young thing. And she's like to the point where like, I feel like she's got to be so frustrated with like, I literally prove myself in every single way. And I'm still being seen as just this. And then the disregarded wife back at home. And to the point where I would put Christie in charge at the very end and not Brantley, because Brantley's white male privileging his way to the top.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's literally breaking every single rule. Well, but he's going to get away with it because what a charming young man he is.
Mm-hmm.
People can't see my, like, weird head movement when I said charming young man, but it was there. Like, so... What I think we're missing in terms of the Vera-Christie relationship is they never have a scene together.
They do, but when they do, Vera does not like her.
Right. They don't have a scene where it's just them.
Yeah.
We're not passing the Kinsey... Kinsey? No, Kinsey's a different word. Bechdel.
Oh.
We're not... Like, this movie is so far away from the Bechdel test, it's not even funny. But, like, literally, if we put those two in a room together for some reason, they... Like, it's one of those things where they start hating each other, but that's just because they only saw each other through Howard's perspective. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden you take him away and they're like, oh, well, no wonder he likes us. He likes putting down strong women.
So you're thinking like a Legally Blonde type moment where Reese Witherspoon and... What's the name? The brunette actor, but you know what I'm talking about.
The one from...
Selma Blair.
They're both in
yeah.
love with Warner, and then they realize what an idiot Warner is, and they become best friends.
Right.
Yeah. So you're thinking like that.
Something like that. Almost exactly like that.
Yeah.
Where they choose each other over the guy.
Yeah.
Which would make me feel so much better about her getting the company at the end.
Yeah. So let's do that then.
Okay.
I think it should still be Brantley as kind of our main, like, as our initial main character, but I think we need to give both Christie and Vera way more agency.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Because they're the ones who are kind of being pushed aside by people exactly like Brantley. And Brantley's on his way to becoming one of those people. Like, you see at the end of the movie that they're just, now they're just living the life of luxury because they're the CEOs. But I think that it should be something where you can see him heading in that direction, and it's Christie and Vera who push him back towards not being that guy because those guys are monsters.
I see. So I love that twist. That's one thing I felt that this Secret My Success was kind of linear. There's a twist, but it's not that twisty. Because, like you said, it leaves a male in charge. And all those other people in the room stay there too, actually.
Yep.
Yeah. All the yes men are still there. And it's still all men. So I like that twist. And I'd like to see it how would you deal with Brantley then in the end?
You can literally give him a moment where it's like he's giving this whole big speech, this whole thing's happening, and then finally it's like, so who's going to be in charge? You? Well, and he dusts off the chair, goes to it. I'm not an executive. Christie will be. And that's how you kind of...
I'm just the IT guy.
I'm just the IT guy. I'm just her secretary. Whatever.
Yeah.
Does that work for both of you?
Yeah.
Well, I think that actually...
Or you could be like, I'm in training.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, literally, because he should be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If it is a high-tech company, a lot of people say the problem with technology companies is that the genius who comes up with the idea is not the person who should actually run the company.
Correct.
Yeah, like
we've all seen Silicon Valley.
Right, exactly. So, and he acknowledges that, and he says, you know what, I'm not the person to run this. She's the person who can really run this company.
She's got the head for business. She's corporate affairs. I'm creative.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Or however my sister in advertising would word it.
Yeah, and maybe part of the process is he learns that maybe he doesn't want, maybe he thinks he wants to do that at the beginning, but then he realizes, I just want to create and do that part. But I have a partner here now that I can, an equal who, or someone I can work with who can take, the business side of it and really, run with it.
Yeah. I mean, it's also possible that just like, he did commit a bunch of corporate espionage and fraud. He's like, well, I could do that, but in order for me to not go to jail, I've made this deal. Because, again, corporate espionage, fraud, usually frowned upon.
Unless you become the CEO, and then it's fine. But, yeah, but at some point he could say, but also, it was Vera's choice, and she picked Christy. Yeah, I would totally be down with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then, okay, so we've kind of got our arc. We kind of got our things that we want to be happening leading up into the core thing. Like, do you have any other like bits and pieces that you want to talk about, like plot wise or character development wise?
One thing I was thinking about was the phone booth scene and updating that, because
I forgot about that.
It is so dependent on having a phone booth. But you could, because my husband's like, well, he could be in a cell outside. I'm like, yeah, but if you're in your cell, you just step inside the building.
Oh no, they have these really funny things for offices. They're like phone booths for offices.
Yeah, but they're inside. I've seen those too.
True.
Yeah, like that whole scene that when he first gets to New York and like the bodega's getting robbed and stuff is all dependent on him being in a phone booth. And not.
So you had an idea for that?
Well, I guess he could be on his cell phone outside and like maybe like walking down the street. Maybe he doesn't get good reception or something in the building and he's walking down the street and like the robbery's happening in front of him, so he has to like dodge it. Because otherwise, how do you create that?
I have an idea.
Go for it.
Go for it, Tom.
Okay. Because there's a robbery going on, everybody whips out their cell phones and wants to get a video of it, and he's trapped in the space where the action is taking place. So there's a wall of people filming around him, and he's like, I can't get out of here, and there's like fighting going on around him and behind him.
That's funny.
Oh yeah.
So let me give you my pitch. My pitch is that he's in the smoking section. Like, he's in the little area where you're supposed to be smoking or vaping or whatever outside, and literally he's unwilling to put down his cigarette or his vape, and like he's like, I have to be. This is where I'm supposed to be. I can't not be here because everything else that's going on. And so literally, like, he could leave, but he'd have to leave his cigarette or his vape behind, and he won't do it. But I think Tom's is probably more satirical.
The one thing about that scene, though, I have to bring up is that there's like two what do you call them? Perps or whatever. Two criminals.
Yeah.
Two robbers, two criminals. And they're shooting at the police. And the police never shoot back.
That's really progressive.
It is very progressive. It's like...
The 80s were a wild time.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
I also didn't think about that.
Gosh, I was just noticing the phone booth.
There's one white guy and one black guy, and neither of them get shot, which would be funny, but it's weird, It's like, these days there'd just be like assault rifles and SWAT teams and stuff. So I didn't know if the crime needed to be changed somewhat, or...
if you do that, you can have the black guy and the white guy. The white guy can have the gun, and the black guy could literally be robbing an ATM, and then the cops tackle the black guy.
Right, and leave the guy with the gun alone.
And you literally just have this one with the guy with the gun just being like, and just runs off.
Okay.
Puts it in his pocket and walks away.
Yeah, like, if you want to do, like, you don't even need the phone booth. If you want to have a satirical comment on the
black guy could be the guy being robbed, too.
Yeah.
Although the whole point of that scene was not a commentary on robbery, but it was a commentary on, him being in the city and mom
exactly.
not wanting to take mom out.
But I mean, like, that's also a very old school thing. Like, the whole, like, the idea of them buying him a return ticket, that hurt. It's an open return ticket.
Yeah.
Is that a thing that even exists anymore?
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Plane tickets aren't just things you buy and hang on to. They're
Yeah.
not like currency.
Because you need to be like in the system because this is a post 9/11 world.
Yeah.
And that's a pre 9/11 world. Times are sad.
All the smoking in the offices and stuff too. That was hilarious.
But yeah, that's okay. So, like, some sort of fear of the big city would be like something else to make his parents scared of the big city. What's something else that would make his parents scared of the big city? Like, if you want to go full rural or full just like middle America fear of the big city, it's like, I'm worried you're going to turn gay, and he ends up walking through a pride parade.
That's kind of funny, yeah. And
I feel like that's been done.
But if they make him FaceTime, I want to see you, honey.
Show me your apartment.
Yeah, show the apartment.
And he's like doing things to cover up the people around him, and then finally he hangs up the phone and is like, and just like, "How you guys doing? Oh yeah. Which way are we heading?" Like, because I don't want him necessarily to be homophobic, because like if you use gay people as the butt of a joke, that's not necessarily good. However, if you're making fun of the prejudice of the mom, I'm okay with it. So who knows? I don't know where I fall on this joke, I feel like that's the way to do it.
Mom and dad are supposed to be simple, but not offensive. So you have to like them, sort of.
And they're honestly worried about their kid. Like, they're worried about him failing, and they're worried about him like getting killed in the big city, which is a legitimate fear.
Yeah.
I mean, it could also just be the thing where he's talking on his cell phone, which is something he's always just been able to walk and talk while doing, and he just keeps walking into the road, and all these cars and things keep swerving around and missing him, and he's just completely oblivious because he's small town and still has no concept of. Mm-hmm. I'm good with that, too.
Okay.
I don't know. Something where he almost dies, right?
Yeah, it could be something with the subway even, Maybe the parents have watched too many movies, they don't stand near the edge, or... if you ever watch House of Cards, they have the pushed into the train kind of thing. Like, watch out on the train platform, honey.
Make sure there's no one directly behind you with two firm hands on your back. That's the way I always thought I'd go. That's why I moved to a city with no train. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of these ideas. The writer will figure it out. But yeah, anything else that we need to cover, or can we get into casting? Oh, we didn't talk about the soundtrack.
Oh my gosh.
So this soundtrack is so ridiculous because it's literally just... It felt like them stretching the runtime, because every time it would just be like Brantley sitting there thinking about stuff, and then the song would be singing what he was thinking. In the most 80s way. And then they have a scene where it's like, it's a... Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that song was like in every...
Yeah, that was the soundtrack of the 80s. That was in...
This is the sexy time song.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And like, I don't know
Ferris
if you
Bueller,
noticed, but like, in the 80s, they loved having on-the-nose music. Like, let's write a song called The Secret of My Success for the movie The Secret of My Success.
Yeah.
And then let's spell it out as a cheer at the end.
They did that in St. Elmo's Fire, too, yeah.
They
believe
very
that.
on-the-nose music.
Although I like that song.
It was like an 80s thing.
That said, that music video is ridiculous. I don't remember the guy who sings that song, but in the music video, they were playing at a bowling alley or something I was at. He literally, like, there's just a line of all the characters in the movie. He walks up, sings some of the lyrics to the character, and they're like, uh-huh. And then he walks up to the next character and like, yeah, cool. And like, he just like goes down the line of characters in the movie. And it took me a second to process, like, what is happening? Oh, right.
Do they do soundtracks like that anymore? Because I remember they did it for... I used to have a lot of soundtracks. They had that. They had the Ghostbuster soundtrack, the Back to the Future...
Story. They had a song specifically called Never Ending Story.
They had songs in Back to the Future soundtrack, like Back in Time.
Yep. It was the 80s. Like, they just loved on-the-nose music.
The only way that you could do that the only way you could do that kind of soundtrack today is if that soundtrack was done by Randy Newman. It's literally the only way.
You got a friend in me.
Because that's the joke about Randy Newman, is that his soundtracks are the things that are happening at the moment.
Yeah.
And this was the most Randy Newman-esque soundtrack that I've ever seen.
With synthesizers and
it was so 80s. Like, I'd briefly forget that there was an 80s movie, or I'd be like, oh, well, Christy's pretty, whatever. And then, like, 80s.
I have to give a shout out to David Foster, though, because he did the instrumentals on it, and as cheesy as they were at the time, they were pretty big, and he actually got to do the Winter Olympic theme fanfare theme song. which was really cool. I loved that. I had the soundtrack, and I had one of his
To the Olympics?
To the yeah, there was an Olympic soundtrack. There was also he did an instrumental CD release called Symphony Sessions, and it's on there. And then he did, obviously I had the soundtrack to this one too. So
oh, really random.
SUCCESS.
As far as fun facts go,
yeah.
So Secret of My Success was written by Jim Gasch and Jack Epps, who also wrote Top Gun. And Jim Gasch was a screenwriting professor at my alma mater, Michigan State.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, so they wrote all these hit movies, and one of them, Jack, was out here in LA doing the pitching, and
then Jim would be
Jim
back,
Gasch would just be in
teaching?
Yeah.
Cool.
Right?
That's a fun thing.
So I do have a soft spot, because, Michigan State.
All right, I get it. Okay, great. We needed to talk about the soundtrack. It was important. So now let's get into casting. So the way I normally like to do this is, we'll each take turns going first. We'll kind of, go around just taking turns. So I feel like we should start with Brantley, because he's sort of the lead. Did you forget to do casting, Rachanee?
I only had Oh, wait, you know what? I do have a couple. All right, never mind. My notes.
So let's talk about who we have. I'm happy to go first for this first one.
Go
ahead.
So my Brantley is a kid named Ross Butler. This is a moment where, if you've got your phones in front of you, it might help to, look up what this dude looks like.
Yeah, I don't know that actor, actually.
Ross Butler is in 13 Reasons Why. He's in Shazam, and he's in Riverdale.
Was he the main character in Shazam?
Who was he in Riverdale?
He is... I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Oh, okay. I know Riverdale.
He's this guy. He is not the main character in Shazam.
Oh, okay.
He is... I also aged them all up a little bit. Because it was a little weird for me that it was a 40 or 50-year-old woman sleeping with a presumed 20-year-old. And I was like, I'm going to age everybody up a little bit.
And they never say how old Christy is.
They never say how old anyone is.
Yeah.
So I made both Brantley and Christy kind of late 20s.
That makes sense.
I mean, they could certainly be late 20s playing younger.
Yeah.
But in this case, Ross happens to be 29. Ross Fleming Butler was born in Singapore and was raised in the Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. area. I don't know. He was one of the other older Shazam versions.
He was.
Shazam.
Oh, he wasn't one of the kids. Okay, he was.
No.
So he wasn't even in the movie that long.
No, but he was great.
Yeah. Also Asian, which is good.
Because he was so look at all
Diversity.
these muscles. And I was very, because it's such a white movie, I was very specific about trying to have a little bit more diversity in my casting. But anyway, I liked him. When I saw Shazam, I thought he was particularly charming. And then he kind of has that whole, kind of teen vibe. And he's also been in... he's been in, a bunch of different stuff. He's Reggie Mantle in Riverdale. He was in Teen Wolf, which has that Michael J. Fox connection. The TV show, not the movie. Mm-hmm. He's in Chasing Life. He's in Casey Undercover. He's in... What other movies is he in? Not that many movies, actually. Shazam's probably his first really big movie. Good for him. Yeah. I don't know. Post-production on To All the Boys, P.S. I Still Love You 2020, which is something.
That's funny. I had one of the actresses from that who was in Parasite. So her name's Sodam Park.
That's a great name.
Yeah, I don't know if that's how you say it, but Sodam Park.
We apologize if we said it wrong.
She was the daughter.
I don't.
She
yes,
was
I do. I
the
absolutely
daughter
do.
in
I'm
the
so
family.
sorry.
I actually was still thinking about the gender flip, so I didn't actually cast a male for the role.
Well, who do you have anyway?
I was actually thinking of Naomi Scott. She was Jasmine in the live-action Aladdin.
Oh, I've been
and
getting
she
her
was
last
in
name
Charlie's,
wrong for a while.
Charlie's Angels, and she was in Power Rangers. So I really liked her. If it was going to be gender flipped, but she could also play the Christy part as well.
Absolutely. She is 26. She's also great. I've used her a bunch of times on this show because she's amazing and everyone loves her and she's wonderful.
Cannot say anything negative about her.
Okay.
We're not here to break down other people's suggestions unless they're bad. Who did you have?
You know what's funny is so I know all the people I picked are too old because I was thinking more vibe.
Vibe?
Their vibe than the person.
So you have Michael Shannon for Brantley?
No. I have Chris Pratt, Will Smith, or Ryan Reynolds. I know they're all too old for the role, but that vibe.
Oh, okay.
They have that kind of cool but goofy vibe.
So you just need to find a younger actor with...
Yeah, that's a Chris Pratt or Will Smith.
The younger Chris Pratt, that kind of thing.
I could totally see Will Smith doing this role. In his,
20 years ago.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't think about today. We were casting it today. I was just like,
Yeah.
I like that.
We're
vibe.
remaking the movie.
She's
Sorry.
casting the people from the 80s that could have done
From
it.
the 90s.
Someone was so excited about all their notes, they forgot to actually do the homework.
Sorry.
So then, let's do this. Assuming we don't do a full gender swap, who did you have for Christy, Tom?
Karen Gillian.
Oh, so it was like a female relationship. Karen Gillian for Christy?
Yeah.
You didn't. So you made Brantley female and made Christy female also, is what I'm saying?
No. I'm bouncing around a little bit here, so...
No, I was trying to get the male person you'd had for the gender swap.
I didn't actually have anybody.
Oh, okay.
No, I did. It was Tyler, how do you say his last name? Hochlin
I don't know
from
who
Teen
you're talking
Wolf.
about.
He was...
I've never seen Teen Wolf.
Oh, you mentioned it earlier.
I did, because
he
Ross
was on
Butler's in it.
Oh, he was the alpha on on Teen Wolf. He's actually playing Clark Kent and Superman on the CW shows.
Oh, I love him. He's great. He's also too old, but he's great. Like,
Yeah.
he's a really good Superman.
Yeah. He has the chin and the smile perfect, yeah.
Well, what's great about it is that, like, for the first time, he's both a good Superman and a good Clark. And that's what makes it amazing. Because normally, the people who cast as Superman are either good at one or the other. He is a rare instance of being good at both, and it's delightful. Also too old, but, like, still great. So I think we're going to end up going with Ross Butler, but we're going to keep Naomi Scott in the mix for Christy.
Okay.
Sound good?
Sound good.
Which is good because I didn't have a Christy.
Tom's got you covered because he's got two.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks.
So we know both of yours. It's Naomi Scott and Karen Gillan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mine is Rachel Brosnahan, who's Maisel in Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
I thought about her too, but she's too busy being successful at that, I thought. But hey.
I mean, it's a movie. Like, she films during the off-season.
Sure,
like, they film during
sure.
the year. This is the movie they do over the summer. Lots of actors do that. Who wants free time?
She's really got a great look when you don't see her in her period. I mean, she looks great on the show, but, you know, she looks older, I think, on the show.
I think she does, too.
Yeah.
Like, when I looked her up, I found a picture of her, and I was like, I did not know who she was, and I was like, are you sure? Like, he kept saying,
she
like,
looks totally different.
Like, Maeve Maisel, and I was like, that is Mrs. Maisel, right?
Oh, wow.
Because she looks completely different.
Yeah.
She looks like a young, like a Emma Watson when she was in Harry Potter almost.
I was thinking, who's the lead of the pink girls in Mean Girls? Who's the main Mean Girl?
Oh, the one who plays Regina. Rachel McAdams.
Thank you.
Oh.
I think she looks like Rachel McAdams.
Yeah.
And kind of has that vibe. But, like, I think, like, you put her in like a pantsuit or something, I think she's all business all the time. Mm-hmm. So that was my pitch.
Yeah.
You know, going back though, Emma Watson would probably be a good Christy. She's got that vibe.
Yeah,
that like smart, you know, kind of buttoned up, but also very beautiful.
Yeah, she's a little vulnerable too. Yeah, she
Yeah.
can play vulnerable too. So.
All right.
I mean, do you think she would be in a sex comedy?
How much sex are we having in this comedy? Are we trying to make it a romantic comedy, or is it going as is?
I mean, the thing about the original movie is that the essence of the original Secret of My Success is that it is a sex comedy.
Yeah.
Pitched as a romantic comedy or whatever, but the Secret of My Success is a sex comedy. And if you're looking for the remake, I don't think you need to, like, flash a boob or whatever, but, like, I feel like they are having sex.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Whether or not, I don't think that should be happening on screen, but, like...
It's all implied in this one.
With the exception of when they're naked in the pool.
That's even implied.
Yeah, and if you watch
but they're naked a little bit.
If you watch carefully, you can see the bodysuitish
the
thing.
nude,
Yeah, the nude loincloth or whatever that Michael J. Fox
that
is
was super weird.
Yeah, it looks ridiculous, kind of.
Yeah,
I guess I didn't freeze on that part. I just kind of watched.
I didn't freeze either, but it was pretty obvious.
Yeah,
I'm
you
like,
didn't have
wow,
to.
I was like, are they actually going to show Michael J. Fox's dick? They are not. And then Vera or whatever,
he looks like a Ken doll. Yeah.
Yeah, it was strange. I would cut that scene because that scene does nothing. Because you literally have that, and then you cut to them both in robes afterwards. I'm like, yeah, okay, we get it.
Okay.
And then he's like getting dressed again while running away from the husband. So our options, Rachanee, because you don't have a horse in this race, our options are Naomi Scott, Karen Gillan, or Rachel Brosnahan. Who do you want?
For Christy?
For Christy.
Oh, wow.
Those are your three choices. You got to pick.
I'm honestly, because I'm not that familiar with any of them, I don't really have a stake.
Yeah, but Tom and I are biased, so you got to pick.
Oh, my
You're a tiebreaker.
word. Wow. I will say I really do like the Mrs. Maisel show.
Okay.
She's excellent in that, so I'd probably go with that because I'm familiar with it.
She probably has the best comedy chops of the three.
Karen Gillan is really funny. I actually think Karen Gillan might be a little bit too old, though. Like, between the two of yours, I would lean towards Naomi Scott, but I think Rachel Brosnahan is more exact. Like, I feel like Naomi Scott is a better Brantley than she would be a Christie, but I think Rachel Brosnahan's a better Christie, is where I would lean on that.
Okay. I'm good with that.
Okay. Yeah. Then the next person I had is Howard, the uncle.
Oh, there's so many good ones for this. I mean,
Yeah.
I went for the classics. I went for the F. Murray Abramson.
I was going to say, it's Rashni's turn to go first.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm stepping on the process.
It's all good.
My bad.
He's not, like, swarmy enough, but he's intimidating. J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons? Okay, I can see that.
Yeah.
How old is J.K. Simmons? Oh, that's right. You went with Essence.
I went with Essence.
Because J.K. Simmons is 65.
Oh my goodness. Actually, and if you had a 20-year-old, that's even grosser.
Yeah.
That's actually
It's,
pretty good.
It's pretty gross. Don't
Yeah.
like it. I went with someone this guy is late 40s who I have, but go ahead, Tom.
Oh, I was kind of old too because I was going with the F. Murray Abraham and the Ralph Fiennes. What about
F. Murray Abraham is 80.
Yeah, really, really old. What about like a smarmy like a Colin Farrell kind of thing?
Colin Farrell's great. I need to see is it The Gentleman? The new movie he's in that's out right now. I need to see that so bad. But I need to watch another movie for podcast research this weekend.
Oh, who's the gentleman that plays Don Draper?
Oh, John Hamm.
He's good at swarmy.
John Hamm.
Yeah, he's really good at smarmy. Smarmy.
Smarmy, that's how you say it.
Sleazy.
John Hamm is 48. John Hamm's in the right ballpark. The guy I had for Howard Prescott, I keep doing that, is named Benjamin Bratt.
Oh, yeah.
Good, swarmy guy. We don't immediately recognize him from anything, but, like, it's just one of those guys who you're just like, yeah.
He's Congeniality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, everybody knows him from that.
I guess I don't think of him as, like, super sleazy, but I guess he could play that way.
Yeah.
Look at this suit.
I like John Hamm better because I think John Hamm can play that duality you were looking for, the two-faced aspect better. Cause
Yeah, I mean, that is what he's known for.
Yeah.
Do you want to put John Hamm back in charge of an advertising agency?
Oh, God.
Typecast.
Well, it doesn't have to be an ad agency, but yeah, I know what you're saying.
I mean, I don't know this guy's been doing Law and Order for 15 years. He was also a voice in Coco. He's the voice of, like, the guy, like, the adult guy in Coco, and he's great. No, I think he sings
He's a great actor.
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about, yeah.
I don't know. Just, like, he's someone who doesn't come up that much on this podcast. That's why I was excited to find him. The person I have for Vera has come up before on the podcast.
Oh, who do you have for Vera?
I'll get there. We're not there
Okay,
yet.
okay.
We still haven't decided on Howard.
I'm sorry.
This is what happens when you put three podcast hosts on a podcast together.
There is a structure.
Sorry.
So, if you had to choose between Benjamin Bratt and... So, John Hamm is yours. Benjamin Bratt is mine. Tom, what do you think?
Did I have one? Who are we talking about? Howard.
Yeah,
you didn't like mine. Mine were all...
Your choice was 80 years old.
Yeah, well, I had... Tyler from Teen Wolf was still potential for a younger version of Howard. No? Okay. I had my female versions of her, which could be Vera's, but I won't get ahead of the game.
Save that for Vera.
Save that for Vera. So I'll just vote on your two. I still like I said, I like John Hamm better.
All right,
so.
John Hamm it is.
I don't know if he'll like playing the bad guy, but
I mean, he's been a bad guy. You saw Baby Driver, right?
Skarsgård. That's who I was thinking of.
Which one?
The one who was in the Alien movies. Played the robot.
Skarsgård.
He was Magneto in the.
He is
X-Men
not
thing.
a Skarsgård.
That's not a Skarsgård?
No.
Fassbender. Michael Fassbender. That's who I was thinking of.
Sounds totally like Skarsgård.
That's Michael Fassbender.
I mean, I think Michael Fassbender and John Hamm are basically the same type.
Yeah, they are. Sorry about that.
That was funny.
Sorry, Skarsgård.
Skarsgård. It's Fassbender.
It's Fassbender. Those names are also complicated.
Fassbender's 42.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh.
Too late. We already went with Rashni's choice of John Hamm.
Okay.
So then it's my turn to go first for Vera.
Okay.
And you might recognize this name. Because I thought it'd be fun to go with Jennifer Lopez.
Oh.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Especially for someone who's rebranding herself in, like... The two things that I know that she did in the last year are Hustlers, where she plays a stripper, And the Super Bowl show where everyone's like, oh my God, look at how sexy Jennifer Lopez is. Mm-hmm. Like, you have this moment of, like, it's this woman who is middle-aged, and she's talking about how I have maintained this body by doing all of these different things, and my husband is ignoring me. But I'm still this sexy, am I not? And you look at Jennifer Lopez, and you're like, yep, you are. Yep, absolutely. You keep doing what you're doing. Mm-hmm. But also, like, she's a good actress. I mean, she was fantastic in Hustlers, and she's done other things as well that I could pull up right now that are very, very good. Like, she is absolutely the triple threat that she deserves to be. And so that's why I thought Jennifer Lopez would be fun. Like, the amount of things that J-Lo is going to be, like, either producing or in is phenomenal. But, like, she's in the new Bad Boys movie. It's all going to be music videos. She's just in a bunch of stuff. She's in Fleabag. She's in... Oh, no, I guess she's not. They just played Jenny from the Block in one episode. But that's actually really funny. I don't know. We all know who J-Lo is. Why am I looking her up? That's silly. Someone else say some things. Rachanee, you're up. Who do you have for Vera?
I would say Scarlett Johansson, or I really like, again, the vibe, Ruth Wilson from His Dark Materials.
Did she play the mom?
She's Coulter. Yeah, Mrs. Coulter.
She is very good. I like her a lot.
And she's got that right vibe. That kind of, like, mysterious and, like... Cool. I don't know. I just
Rachanee
like
only wants to cast white people. Got it.
Sorry about that.
God, now I don't want to say mine.
But I would not put Scarlett Johansson in this role, but I would put her. She is a good choice. I like her a lot. I don't remember the name of the person you just said.
Oh, Ruth Wilson?
Ruth Wilson. Thank you. Ruth Wilson's a good pull. I like that. Also, I really enjoyed His Dark Materials. Tom, who do you have?
Well, my first inclination, because she's pretty much done the role before, was Sigourney Weaver, because she was in Working Girl. But she's definitely...
We've done Working Girl on the podcast.
I feel like she might be too harsh.
She's
Ruth Wilson's only 38.
Really?
Yeah, apparently.
Dang.
But then I've enjoyed her on Jessica Jones, Carrie Ann Moss, Trinity and the Matrix. She's been on Jessica Jones as Hogarth, the attorney. Really tough character. She's really strong. She could do a great job in that role, I think.
I do like Carrie Ann Moss, and I feel like Carrie Ann Moss also would be excellent. I'm kind of leaning towards Carrie Ann Moss.
I'm not thinking of diversity. You're making me feel so bad.
I should.
You should.
Yeah.
Rosario Dawson, maybe.
It's too late. We've already moved past it. Looks like we're going with Carrie Ann Moss.
Wow.
Just one more white person, and it's all Rachanee's fault.
Well, let's just be fair. The movie was entirely white the first time. At least we're mixing it up a little bit.
There you go.
Are we?
Well, if we go with Naomi Scott.
With so far the 4 people we've cast, one of them is diverse.
Okay, how about somebody to...
It's too late. We moved on. We're going to have to save it for Fred, Barney, or Jean, which are the last 3 people I have.
I've definitely got one for Fred, yeah.
All right, let's talk about Fred then. Go ahead.
Dev Patel from Slumdog Millionaire.
Okay. Tell us about him. I know who he is. He's come up on the podcast before, but if this is anyone's first episode, tell us about Dev Patel.
What has he recently done that I just saw him in?
He was in Lion. He was in The Newsroom.
I looked at this before.
If you're listening, Meredith, we know you have a big crush on him.
Chappie, the last Airbender.
Chappie, the Last Airbender?
No, those are 2 separate things. Chappie was not an airbender. Chappie was a robot.
Yes, I know.
Just imagine those 2 movies together.
Oh, that's
I'm talking
weird.
too fast. You know, he's Indian. He's, funny. He's the age is good.
Yeah.
You know, he's. I mean, it's a little typecasting, an Indian being in, if we're going to put this in an IT department, it's a little on the nose, but...
If we cast Dev Patel, he would have to be terrible with computers.
It's
like, they hired me to do this. I'm bad, but like, literally I walked in and they hired me.
I told them I was a graphic designer.
I am bad with, like, if someone's, like, can't get something to format right in Microsoft Word, I'll just hit buttons until it happens. I don't know. That's what I would do for that bit if we cast Dev Patel.
To just make it funny. Yeah, that'd be great.
Rachanee, who did you have?
I mean, if you really wanted, like, if we're still on the Indian route, Indian guy route in IT, how do you say his name? The guy from Big Sick.
Kumail Nanjiani.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. He's been everywhere lately.
I like him as a comedic actor.
He is. Kumail Nanjiani, I think, is actually older than you think he is. Not that I care about age, but, like, I care about age.
Yeah, you do.
Kumail Nanjiani is 41 years old. But, like, for this role, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I love Kumail Nanjiani. I think he's great. And I also think he would be good in this role. And Kumail Nanjiani is actually Pakistani. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
I'm not positive on that. I'm going to verify it.
He was born in Karachi.
Yeah, Pakistani American.
Cool. So I'm not entirely being...
Well, you did say he was Indian. The important thing is...
Oh my god. Should I just leave right now?
Just hope you never meet him.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't be picking on you. I apologize.
Considering I'm actually the only, like, not
I know.
person
That's why I'm enjoing this so much.
I'm so sorry.
So the person that I had is an actor named Josh Peck. Like, he was Josh on Drake and Josh. And he actually hasn't done all that much recently, but, like, in this particular case, I kind of did what you were doing, is go with vibe.
Yeah.
And he kind of has the same vibe as the original actor, who has a name. That actor's name is John Pankow. And Josh Peck had a little bit of that same vibe. And so I always write down things that these people have been in to kind of remind me. So Josh Peck from Drake and Josh, and he's also in a movie called The Siege of Fulton Avenue.
And that's
which is where we are right now.
Because we live on Fulton Avenue.
Yeah, everyone's excited about this bit. I literally have him here so I could do this bit.
Oh, okay.
I don't necessarily think he'd be the best choice, although I do think he has the right vibe.
Okay.
I think we should probably go with either Kumail or Dev Patel. But so, you guys decide between yourselves.
Well,
The Siege of Fulton Avenue.
Should we thumb war?
Kumail's obviously got the comedy chops too, so I think he's actually a little bit bigger these days.
I think the role would also have to be bigger because, like, the friends were totally underutilized in the film.
You're both casting people who are now at this point A-listers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but that's one thing that bothered me about the movie was, like, the friends were like, I'm like, are you even friends? You don't have a scene with them. Like, what's the point?
it's one of the
So
like 80s, 90s movies tropes of you have a couple scenes with me, you're my best friend, therefore.
Yeah, I'd want him to have
because like Michael J. Fox basically emerges fully formed from the ether. He has parents, and that's it. He doesn't have friends. If it was now, and someone was moving from a small town to the big city, they'd have all these people. They'd constantly be like, literally, what we could do is we could, instead of just having his parents calling him constantly and saying you're not going to make it, move back home, is you could have everyone from his small town calling him and going, we miss you, you should come back, why aren't you here? Because that's what happens. I literally had a roommate here in my apartment who lived here for 3 weeks and then moved back to his small town.
Wow.
It was wild, but like that happens. Like the call of like everyone wanting you to come back and because they miss you is real.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's just like moving to a big city, that first person, that one person you spend a couple days with here and there, that is your best friend. I mean, you both remember moving to cities that you've never lived in before, I assume. Same sort of thing, right? You see someone once a week, maybe twice, they are your best friend. So, who's better best friend material? Dev Patel or Kumail Nanjiani?
Who would you rather be best friends with, Tom?
Kumail.
Done. Kumail Nanjiani.
Awesome.
So I have Barney and Gene left. Do either of you have casting for characters other than those two?
Barney was the mailroom guy?
Yes, he is God.
Oh. No, I don't have anybody for that.
Okay. So
Either
that
of
means
them.
it's going to be me!
Yeah, I kind of forgot about him.
I just wanted someone who could, like, be that intimidating, like, also in charge, but also has the comedy chops. So I went with Enrico Colantoni.
Oh, I love him.
Yeah, he's great.
Great choice.
And I thought he would just be a fun, like, when you look at me, you call me God. I invented computers. No, you didn't. You don't tell me no.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just thought that he'd be able to, like, have full fun with this. Just go full Galaxy Quest on it, Veronica Mars, all the things he's done, because he's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
So then that brings me to Jean, the secretary. Does anyone have someone for this, or...
Again, vibe, they're A-listers, but Rebel Wilson or Melissa McCarthy, because I love them both.
Rebel Wilson, those are both great ideas. Rebel Wilson, I love that idea.
The person I went with is Yvette Nicole Brown.
Oh, she did it too. Yeah, they have the same kind of vibe.
Yeah, I went a little bit older this time.
Mm-hmm.
I went with someone who's very sweet, who would be just shocked by the antics she's witnessing. And so that's why I thought she'd be a little bit fun. Mm-hmm. So Yvette Nicole Brown for Jean. Because there's no reason for her to be the same age as them, and I think Yvette Nicole Brown is great and should be in more things.
And diversity!
There you go.
That too. Which brings me to the writer and the director. I have a writer-director. Do you guys have a writer and a director, or do you have a writer-director? You don't. Okay.
We're very bad at homework.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you who our writer and director is going to be. I went with someone who is both intricately familiar with the world of Wall Street and is also intricately familiar with the world of comedy, to the point where he is obsessed with both. And that's why I thought this guy would be the best person. Because, like, you can take, like, literally because I always list things that this person's done. And so the 3 things that I've listed here are basically the essence of this movie. The Big Short, Anchorman, 40-Year-Old Virgin. Because I think the obvious choice for writer-director for this is Adam McKay.
Oh, okay.
Because he did The Big Short. Like, he knows Wall Street, and he knows, like, kind of like the good things and the bad things, and kind of talking about that. But he also knows Ridiculously Silly, like Anchorman, and someone who's too big for their britches. And then he knows, like, ridiculous sex comedy, but somehow not a sex comedy in The 40-Year-Old Virgin. I mean, that's a romantic comedy, but it's a sex comedy with no... It's an abstinent sex comedy. Which is kind of what it is.
Yeah.
So he kind of, like, has all the elements, and I feel like he'd be the person who would make a really good writer-director for The Secret of My Success.
Yeah.
And also because he knows a bunch of economists.
Ah, well.
Which I think is funny. And everyone should be friends with economists. You guys want to know what I got my BA in?
Could it be...
Drama. So let's... also economics. I double majored.
Oh,
yeah.
Trick question.
Relevant. But then, yeah, that gives us our cast, unless either of you had anyone else.
No.
All right, then let me take you through who we've got for The Secret of My Success. The Secret of My 21st Century Success. Brantley Foster will be Ross Butler. Christy Willis will be Rachel Brosnahan. Howard Prescott will be John Hamm. Vera Prescott will be Carrie Ann Moss. Fred Melrose will be Kumail Nanjiani. Barney Radigan will be Enrico Colatoni. Jean will be Yvette Nicole Brown. And the writer-director will be Adam McKay. That is our new version of The Secret of My Success. So, Rachanee, will you go see this movie?
I would. I like that cast.
Tom?
Of course I would, yeah.
Wonderful.
And I'm taking Michael J. Fox with me.
He's down. He's not busy.
Yeah.
So then, now's the time for plugs. Thank you both very much for being guests on the show. Tell me about the things that you've got going on that you want people to know about. Tell us about your social medias and your own things.
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Rachanee Lumayno, and I'm on Instagram at MoonLilyMusic. Currently, I'm working on a scripted comedy podcast called Expat. It's going to debut March 17th of this year.
Congratulations.
Thanks. I'm excited.
Cool. You can find me online at Tom_Loveman on Twitter, Tom Loveman on Instagram, and Tom Loveman on Twitch now. I do some streaming on there because I have a video game in development.
Congratulations.
A word game called Fighting Words, which will be coming out in a month or so. We're in development, so look for that. Yeah, so it's kind of taking writing in a different direction.
Yeah, that's awesome. Way more writing, because my understanding for video game writing, it's way more.
Well, it's just a casual social game. It's not story to it, but
got it. Okay.
But I just have an animated pilot that I was able to pitch to a couple studios. So I'm waiting to see.
Exciting too.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to follow me, I'm on Twitter at Sam Gasch, SamGasch. Or if you want to follow the podcast, it is on Twitter at Ideal Remake and on Instagram at Ideal Remake. Or you can join us on Facebook at Ideal Remake or Ideal Remake Podcast. But if you can do something for the podcast today, if you could go on Apple Podcasts and give us 5 stars, leave us a review, I would be very appreciative of it, and I would love you just that little bit more. Yeah, so then I've been ending the podcast this way. Tom, Rachanee, what is your favorite quote from The Secret of My Success?
Favorite quote from them.
I'll go first, because I'll let you think. It just stuck with me, that's why. I just remember when they all meet up in the bedroom, and Vera goes, "And Christy the bimbo, now that we've all had Mouseketeer roll call." I don't know why, I just remember that quote.
That is pretty great.
That's got to stay in our remake.
Great, fair.
Yeah.
I like when Jean says, when she's getting fired, and she says something to the effect of, he was a great, best boss I ever had. He kept taking his clothes off.
He was fun and he kept taking his clothes off.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Fun. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.